Hey everybody, this is Perch. Let's see what this subject to this email. Um, well, anyway, we'll get right into it. Reverse psychologizing weak men into strong men. All right. Uh, I yeah. Well, we'll get to it in a minute. Dear Perch, first of his name, the unbothered king of the Marvel zombies, king of the Cape Crusaders and the Wednesday Warriors and the Indie Snobs, count of the Cheesecake Comics and Cherry, breaker of fences, father of Bamfs. Oh, badass motherfuckers. All right. All right, good for you. You definitely win. I hope you've been well. I have a couple questions I need to respond. My voice sounds super weird right now. I think I need to like cough like a lot, and then things will get better. Anyway, I have a couple questions that I need to resend you regarding my first comic, but that can wait. Okay, on to gossip. No man likes having his manhood questioned, whether it be literally regarding dick sizes or emotionally with words about your ability to take care of one's own family or act like a man. As much as they pretend not to care about masculinity and act confident in their sexuality, no man likes being called weak. I think that hopes they wait. I think the hope is that they will start shaping up and stop being afraid of a couple very powerless what Uranalists. Okay, yes, I mean Uranalists. I'm not sure where this nail is going, but it's almost over. So now I'm worried, especially now that their ad rev is down. They can't hide how little actual influence they have over sales. Not to mention, sales have done nothing but drop under their fork-tongued guidance. Anyway, I hope the kids aren't getting in trouble and the family is healthy. Be well. I'm not sure where this mail is going. I don't know where it went. Um, but why not talk about kind of men for a moment? So a couple things on comics. Comic books, my brain is still trying to figure out part of what the person was saying here. Yeah, I'm completely flummoxed. Anyway, there's been this narrative out that men and women, there's men and women who buy comics, and that's a true statement. Men and women do buy comics, and really, it's kind of the whole premise of it is stupid by its nature, because in reality, comics just needs people to buy them. Doesn't really matter gender, race, any of that kind of stuff. Comic shops would be overjoyed if anyone came in and buy comics. And if you go to a lot of comic shops, and I have my two daughters, and so my daughters go into shops all the time. My older daughter, semi-interested in the comics. My younger daughter, very interested in the comics, likes graphic novels, always something to read. And what I notice is the retailers often will get really excited when I come in with my kids, because it's a customer, and then they really like the idea that, my younger daughter is wanting to buy comics. And the reason why they're excited is because in their minds, they're thinking, hey, it's a kid. A kid means long revenue, for a while. Kids getting interested in comics would be a good thing. And there is this belief that, man, if girls would start buying comics, that would be incredible, because they look around their clientele, and a lot of their clientele are men. And if they could keep those men customers and add women customers, like that's Grady trade territory you're talking about there. It's money. It's great. Unfortunately, the reality with comics are, and I think there was some very inaccurate survey that the Beat did or somebody did. It's like, there's actually 50-50 split between men and women buying comics, but that's not actually true. And it hasn't been true. I've said anecdotally, I think in previous videos, in my shop, it was 65 to 70% men. And I did have a decent amount of women, but I also, in where I had my shops, because when I had the shop up in Seattle, that was like 85% men. But in the other location, back in Colorado, it was different. The clientele, there's more women that would come by. It was a location. It was kind of the vibe of the area. It just worked out that way. But no matter how you cut it, I think my experience in that shop with kind of 65 to 70% men is probably that's as low as it gets. Comics have appealed to men in the U.S., in Western culture. In Japan, different story. It is more balanced. Women will read manga, and on Webtoon. There are a lot of women creators and women readers and other things. But in the traditional direct market, it's primarily catered to men. And it makes sense. It's superhero comics, and superhero comics also, by and large, cater to men. And you can change anything you want, but you have to make sure you don't lose the audience you have and, pick up the new audience at the same time. It's a tough trick. It's a lot. So that's more or less kind of where, the shops and things are at. And so, I think that you have to just accept kind of reality that that's your market. And then you have to ask yourself as a business person, not as a social engineer, not as a, person who wants to see the world a certain way or anything else. Do you want to change that? Because there's a lot of hard wiring that goes into who's buying comics. And, you can attempt to change it. I think Marvel has, but it hasn't worked. I mean, the funny part is throughout all of everything that's gone on, they definitely irritated some of the older fans, but in many ways that isn't their problem because the older fans are by and large still buying. A lot of them are bitching while they're doing it, but they're still buying. The big miss is that the new audience, the young audience, the girl audience, they didn't show up. Comics are made for them and they didn't arrive. A lot of these books are selling 10, 15, 20,000 copies at best, and it just didn't hit. And so you have to ask yourself, is it worth continuing? Is it worth still trying to do this? You're going to run out of money. By the way, I've had this argument with people, and there are people who will say, yes, even if we go bankrupt, even if, it completely fails, it's better to have a, quote, inclusive marketplace than a non-inclusive one. I just find, if you're arguing with somebody who's got that perspective, I don't know what you can do. It becomes impossible at that point. There's nothing that can happen because you're talking to somebody who's, disconnected themselves from reality, and they're willing to, if I can't get what I want, then it shouldn't exist. And maybe that's where the original mail was coming from, of kind of some of the kind of manly behavior. It does irritate me, or not irritate me, but I see a lot of guys huffing and puffing, I'm an alpha male, this is alpha male behavior. I know this is a shot. What I'm about to say is absolutely a shot. But you'll notice I don't say in my show, this is Perch, the alpha male, any of that kind of stuff. I don't need to say that because I've got a, wife and kids. My family is happy. My dick is long. I'm good. Sorry, I just threw that last bit in there. It's fine. Everything works out. Making money, feeling confident. I see a lot of people who really want to portray this, I'm the epitome of men. But if you're, again, I know this is a shot. If you're standing there, the epitome of maleness, and you're bitching about a Disney cartoon, and it's your 8th video or 80th video on this topic, I don't know. Is that in 2024? Is that alpha male behavior? Maybe I'm just from a simpler, happier time. I don't see that as alpha male. In the 90s, that person would have been a little bitch. I'm just saying. So, but these are all just weird little labels people, put on themselves. God damn it, be happy with who you are, whatever you are, and that's the secret to life. I don't know. All the rest of this stuff is just kind of silly over time. So that's kind of how all that sits. Look, the interesting part about men and women in comics and who it's for and is this like, to me, it all goes back to business. If you've got somebody who's got their cash in their hand and they're holding it out to you and they want you to spend it, then take the money. And if that's a 90% male audience, then make content for that audience. If you get a genius idea one day that you think can bring in women or something else and basically expand your market, go for it. Just be careful. Don't blow up your current audience while you're doing that. That'd be crazy. I, you know, I, it's weird. In one of the problems I think is facing a lot of people, America, the world, whatever, is that for whatever reason, people aren't comfortable just being who they are. And, when I was a kid, 70s, 80s, particularly 80s, there was a lot of like, you're great. You're great just the way you are. That was kind of a message that would tell a lot of kids. And what they were trying to do was to say whether you're, a jock, you're into sports, whether you're, a computer science nerd, whether you're an artist, whoever you are, you have a talent. And the secret in life is to figure out what that talent is and then lean into it because there's room on this planet for everybody. But in 2024, it feels like people are obsessed with just not being who they naturally are. And that's true for businesses too. At the end of the day, the Disney company is an entertainment group, has a theme park, has rides, puts on movies. They're not, genius Academy Award-winning movies. And they entertain. And that's wonderful and valuable. And for decades, a lot of us just grew up loving that out of them. Star Wars didn't need to prove political points. It could just be entertaining. And that was enough. That was being happy and comfortable with who you are as a person or a company. And with comics, like comics hold a special place in my heart, like a lot of you. And they could just be great, just the way they are. Anyway, this video kind of went all over the place, of course. But thank you for the mail. Again, I'm not entirely sure where you're going with that, but that's okay. And we'll live to battle another day. But yeah, a lot of men buy comics, and that's just the way it is. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It can be okay. Anyway, thanks for listening.